Alex, what's up, brother? We're live.
What's up, Josiah?
It's funny because when I scheduled the show with you, at the time I reached out because I was like, I've been trying to get you on my show for, honestly, bro, it's probably been a year.
I think it has. I want to say you hit me up. Yeah, it might have been 2018. I don't know.
Oh, it definitely was.
Or like let's do
Into
something.
2018.
Yeah, I think we had scheduled something prior.
Yep.
And I don't know if it was if kids got sick, something of that familial
Sounds
nature.
familiar.
Then like scheduled, rescheduled. I'll hit you up when I have time. Okay. Yeah, whenever works well.
Brother. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
And so I remember reaching out. We tried to get it scheduled. Whatever happened, we didn't get it scheduled. And then you were always on my radar. It's like, hey, we're gonna get the podcast done. And then I decided cutting off doing virtual interviews, and I want to get some more in-person stuff. And then the timing of your Twitter account getting shut down, I think for the second time in like a year or something like that.
Yeah.
This time though, it felt like it was permanent.
Yeah,
And that's when I
It was
reached
supposed to
out,
be.
and I was like, oh man, this is good timing because you're more than likely to have a little extra time on your hands.
Definitely.
Because you're so active on Twitter. And I was like, that was a good time to get it scheduled. And then, lo and behold, here we are. You have your Twitter account back.
Yes, that was unexpected. Since originally when you contacted me about coming to the podcast, I was all about it because I'm like, all right, if Twitter's gone, let me use the relationships I built with other people and start building things that are like the what I call the sideline networks. So you have these social media platforms and you can use them to network and build relationships with people, but you can't reasonably depend upon them to always be there for you because if you are slightly, moderately, extremely controversial, there's always a chance you can be kicked off. So you can't have your business be dependent upon that social media presence. So my thinking was I'd come here, we'd collaborate with, like the 90 Days to Diesel program that we're putting together. And then like, all right, let's sort of launch something that'll be totally new, it'll be cool. But then, then I got the Twitter account back, which is a good thing overall.
Yes,
like this, it
absolutely.
allows us to, get more people in the program. So great.
Yeah. No, you said I'm laughing because you said if you're a little controversial, but the reason you got banned, I mean, we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we have to because for me, just being a father, right? And I see someone who's passionate about things that I'm passionate about. And I see you post something about pedophilia, right, which is, I think, what led to this.
Yeah,
right?
give
us the backstory.
Being anti-pedophile. So the way the Twitter algorithm works, because I've actually learned this like quite well over the years so I've been suspended before, and the algorithm is generally it's not run by people, it's run by a computer, and then people review it. So you can, to a level, unless you incite violence against a group where you say to somebody on Twitter, I'm going to kill you, you can actually be pretty degrading and insulting. And I could readily say, like, have I been an asshole to people, like, tweets about gamers, subhumans? Oh, yeah. Like, I am completely understandable as to why someone would be like, you're a piece of shit, fuck you. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That was pretty shitty. I'm like, I'm not taking it back because I don't feel bad about it, but like, yeah, I could totally understand someone being offended. Like the Beautiful Woman tweets, like, you could be offended by those. Was that controversial? Was that calling for violence? No, but like you could say it was controversial. At least if you're an American woman, you have entitlement and you're poisoned by feminism. Okay. And the only time it ever actually had been suspended for something was, ironically enough, it was months and months and months ago. I want to say it was like in May of this year. It was a 1-week suspension, and this is the problem with the algorithm when it just looked for stuff on Twitter, is that the algorithm can't identify context at all. So I was having a conversation with somebody, and we were actually talking about, I want to say it was like lifting weights, and I was talking about the role of gravity in lifting. I'm like, why should you lift weights? I'm like, well, we live in a gravity-based environment. We're getting pulled down to the earth all the time, like being muscular, being strong. That's how you keep your body healthy. You're able to defy gravity. You age better, posture, all these things. And somehow some guy was arguing like, well, I don't know if he disagreed or I don't know what the misunderstanding was. I'm like, well, if you don't believe in gravity, like go jump off a roof. Like clearly gravity is real. And so like that was the tweet, and it was this was in jest. It wasn't like go kill yourself.
Right.
I got suspended for a week for that tweet because the algo thought like, well, you're threatening, you're telling someone to go commit suicide. I'm like, okay, I get that this thing is kind of like a monster how it operates. So the recent tweet that got me supposedly permanently suspended, it was supposed to be permanent. It was, and then by the grace of just having a lot of friends, a lot of people that got my name trending, and appealing a whole bunch of times, I actually got my account back after God knows how many appeals.
Sure.
But it was a quote tweet of mine where it was an article, and the article essentially said to the effect of, is I paraphrase, pedophilia, it's an incurable condition. Pedophiles cannot be changed by anything. And I quote tweeted it, and I said, it was just two words. It was castration can. Castration can change them, that being the implication. And I got suspended for that, like permanent suspension, because underneath, like this is what's crazy about Twitter, underneath the Terms of Service Agreement, the TOS, I think, and I might be saying this suppositionally, but it seems to be the case that pedophilia is actually a protected class because it is considered by some definition of sexual orientation, and you can't incite violence or threaten violence of any which way against a sexual orientation. Now, obviously, the criticism of that is, well, how is pedophilia a protected class?
Sure.
And I thought it was bullshit when someone told me this after I got suspended. I'm like, I can't figure out why I got kicked off. And they were like, well, I saw your tweet, and there's been a lot of accounts that have been kicked off for that. And they sent me a whole bunch of examples of people.
Wow.
And there's a guy, Robbie Soov, I want to say his name was on Twitter. He had gotten suspended, and then he got his account back for very much the same thing, where he was referring to pedophilia in similar lines, something along the effect of, maybe castration or euthanization is the only way to take care of this problem.
Right.
And then he got his account suspended, which is very absurd that that's protected on Twitter. Or that's protected speech. That's a protected class on Twitter. But that's the reality of the world we live in. So
yeah, it's crazy because if you compare, so sexual orientation would be like one of the last things I think of when it comes to pedophilia, right? I mean, that'd be like someone saying, if we're going to the dark ages of saying like someone who's homosexual, that's a crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one is illegal, right? One is punishable by prison and other things, but one is just someone's choice of sexual preference. To think that there's some powers that be out there that are protecting this, it's kind of disturbing. I mean, especially
honestly, it's very disturbing. Honestly, of all things, I would never. I would have assumed I'd gotten kicked off for maybe being reported a bunch of times, but it was nothing to do with that. It was that singular tweet that was, I guess, somehow considered, violence. And then the report I got back from Twitter later on was like, oh, it was a mistake. We kicked you off for spam, but. So who knows what the real story is?
So they did try to save face.
Yeah, they tried to save face, but I mean, they could kick me off again for saying all this. It's like, oh, you motherfucker! We gave you a chance. Now, fuck you. I'm like, who knows if they ever hear this? But yeah, it makes you realize that these platforms are run by human beings, and they have biases, and some of them, who knows? Some of these people might work at these companies, might be sick people. These are not. Tech companies are not moral gods. These are not run by perfect human beings that have. Whatever you want to call it, biblical level wisdom as to what is the nature of good and evil. These are people with clear political biases.
Sure.
And they have very much taken a moral high ground position. And I've seen that devolve the last 3 years where, you have a segment of people on the East and West Coast, like liberal, like coastal elites, where they firmly believe that what they think is true and good and correct, and it is of moral imperative that their beliefs be championed, and anyone that contradicts them is racist, Nazi, Trump supporter, evil, whatever you want to say, patriarchal. I mean, you can run down the list of, the political insults.
Sure.
This is why the modern United States, obviously U.S. society, it's so split along. I don't even say partisan lines, but it's ideological lines.
Yeah.
You have people where they've committed to what I would consider cultural Marxist ideology of relativism, not having defined moral values. You're really just being based in irrational insanity, anti-science, anti-logic. And then you have people that have so-called, conservative/traditional values, which are really just those values are time-tested and proven by human history.
Sure.
They're completely at odds with each other. And I see no reconciliation at all because you have two people that they want completely different ways of thinking, being, living, and what they value. But that said, then you see sort of like this metaconscious fight that takes place online, where, depending upon how you design your social media, you can have it be very virtuous, or you could be witnessing people at each other's throats 24/7. And even if you try to avoid getting drawn into those sort of battles, you inevitably do at some point, because there is no way you cannot have a position today on anything and not be offending someone. Being apolitical is political.
Sure.
I remember, Taylor Swift got criticized for this for years. Now she kind of went pro-Democrat, whatever. But Taylor Swift for a long time, she was a good example of a brand where she would never comment on politics, and that was a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, the past, and the funny thing was she'd get criticized. Well, she's not being political. She should be speaking out for something.
Right. Should be standing.
So everyone has to be an activist now for something. At least on the level of, superficiality. And the reality is U.S. society. This is why, I'm not, whether I'm going to leave permanently or go overseas for a period of time. I'm tired of sort of the social bickering online. And until you get outside the United States and you realize that the U.S. lives in sort of this clown world bubble.
Sure.
That what thinks is important. You don't realize how insane it is. And to really have a positive social media experience and use these platforms, devices, you have to very actively curate and create barriers to your attention. And that's something that actually is interesting about Twitter, that there is sort of like the self-improvement Twitter, manosphere Twitter, where it's actually just very overall just like positive message focus. It's not really complaining. It's not bitching about politics. It's not people trying to have fights with each other. And like anything, there's always gossip and there's always like petty conflict.
Yeah.
But overall, you can actually tailor your social media experience to be pretty fulfilling and pretty educational, which is like I really emphasize that message now with like my subscribers, my fans, my following, where if you're going to use these things, you're either sort of like a consumer or producer. Like your tools can use you, or you can use them. And which one's it going to be? And of course, you could argue that if you're using a tool, it's also using you. You can go back and forth that sort of stupid argument, but just use that heuristic. Is my attention being consumed by this thing where I think it's important, or am I actually using this to improve myself?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the consumer producer thing I think often gets lost in context too, because someone might say, well, I'm not selling anything, right? So I'm just a consumer now. Is that what you're saying? It's like, well, no, you can still be a producer. You're producing positive change in your life by paying attention to certain things on Twitter and not paying attention to a lot of the riffraff that happens, a lot of the time wasting that takes place, a lot of the pointless arguments and the dick measuring contests, right? Those things are consumer actions. They're consumer behavior versus producing, whether it's positive thought or whatever, motivation, inspiration, whatever you want to call it, right? That's a producer strategy, even if you're not selling anything.
Yeah, you don't have to be selling anything, but like you're saying, I've been very surprised by the number of people that have contacted me. I mean, it's in the thousands at this point for the last 3 years, where they started following myself on Twitter. Maybe they started following Ed Lattimore. They started, maybe they started following yourself. So there's sort of like this collective group of guys that are loosely affiliated. They started following these men. And then over the course of like 1 or 2 years, they actually did actively improve themselves. They found role models. They took advice to heart. They started lifting weights. They started fatting themselves. They started being more focused. Maybe they stopped getting the stupid arguments online, and they started, actually working and like doing their job, or they started hustling harder. They started having better relationships with women. And it's had a really positive effect on them. Like, all right, like that's what you should be using this for.
Sure.
Or it's very, otherwise it's very easy just to become that person just scrolls through their phone, and they live and die by their reactions to what they read.
Yeah.
And that as much as I'm on Twitter, like I pay attention to very, very little. It doesn't. My mood is not regulated by my Twitter following or my Twitter feed, or any of my social media for that matter. Which people don't want to believe that, but at the same time, like there's always that weird criticism, like, oh well, you're on social media. I'm like, on a very basic level, I make money off of this.
Right.
I built my business to well over 6 figures a year. Promoting myself, selling my products, selling my programs, building a social following. And the only way to do that and stay sane doing it is you have to have both a very deep investment in it along with an extreme level of detachment. You have to do that. Otherwise, you are one of those people like sort of like regular, let's say like Hollywood celebrities. If you become attached to the fame and the fame monster takes over your life, it will absolutely destroy you, eat you alive. And we've all seen that with people where they get big on social media for whatever reason, going viral, or they somehow acquire a following almost by accident, and they don't know what to do with it. And they start asking the following, like, "Oh, what should I talk about? What should I say?" Or they say the wrong thing. Like you see this on the left a lot, where they'll cannibalize each other all the time.
Sure.
Someone says something out of turn that contradicts sort of like the liberal lunatic orthodoxy, and like now they have to be taken down and canceled. And that can all be avoided, obviously. If you really want to use social media and promote a positive message, you can avoid all that by one, caring deeply about what your message is, but two, you really have to not give a fuck about what anyone else says. There's very, very few people who I follow where actually like I would take their advice and like their opinions and things. I mean, I can name them all off. It's literally like a handful of guys, and we've all come up together on it.
Yeah.
And we were all very much surprised at the fact that we even developed a following. I talk about this with Ed all the time. Since him and I, we're fairly close. It's like we never ever expected in our lives to be these public, or whatever Twitter or celebrity figures. I'm like, but it happened. So like let's capitalize. Let's roll with it.
Sure.
But it is a very surreal thing. Being a personal brand that way online and having that kind of social influence and that kind of power. There's no comparison for it.
Yeah.
It blows me out of the water all the time, and I try to stay very humble with it. I'm like. Yeah, like I'm popular on Twitter. Okay, like that's cool. But like, I never 10 years ago when I was in high school, like, did I ever plan on being an influencer? Hell no.
No.
It wasn't no, it was no one's aspiration. Like I want to get really, really popular on social media. That wasn't even a thing. In the 1990s, early 2000s. That's really only become a thing like the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And, like I said, it's a digital fame monster. The reason why most people want it is because they want to be popular. And in our case, is like we didn't want to be popular. We just were trying to either sell something. If I'm being honest, like I wanted to grow my brand and sell more products. Or it was just almost accidental, where it's like, oh, people keep hitting me up. Maybe I'll write a book. All right, I guess I do say useful things. Oh, the book actually was a success, or I'll do another book. And so on and so forth. So it kind of snowballs, and people feel very attached to you when they see you transform over the years. But then inevitably, you also find people that just fucking hate you.
That's just their
but you realize like if you again, like the more you expose yourself to people, the more known you become. You cannot please everybody all the time. And that goes even on the personal level for anyone in their life where they're trying to change themselves. You're going to cause cognitive dissonance in people once you start trying to actually improve yourself. Whether that's in fitness or money or relationships, there's going to be very likely somebody in your life that has a problem with it. Like you know this from working in the fitness industry. Like how many clients get pushback from their families when they start trying to lose body fat. I mean, that's such a common thing.
Yeah, it's a threat to that other person's ego, right, or that other person's comfort zone of like, well, shit, I thought I was in the same boat as you, and now you're jumping ship and you're doing something that I was I knew in the back of my head that I needed to do, but I didn't have the balls to go do it. It just preys on that insecurity, and people like to surround themselves. I think that's why. My friend Tanner Guzzi on Twitter, he encouraged me for so many years, really, to get on Twitter. He was like, you could, really do well on Twitter. And I was like, nah, it's just a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of people arguing, not really for it. And, but surrounding yourself, like I've always surrounded myself with these people who were big on Twitter who really did well. And I think people enjoy being surrounded by either success, because they're successful and they want to be around other people who are successful, or that just failure that they're like, oh, okay, that person next to me, my family, we're all in the same boat together. We've all failed. We're all overweight. We're all whatever. And misery loves company.
Yeah, it does. And like you're always going to be a product of your environment, whether you want to be or not. I've said that many times. Like you're never going to win a war against the environment that you're in. If you're around, I call it like ascendant or descending relationships.
Right.
Like it's very easy heuristic. Ascending relationships, you're around people that they have standards. They have standards of excellence. They hold themselves to certain principles and ideals and values. They want to get better at whatever it is they're doing. And they strive to evolve every day, more or less, as a human being, to improve as a man. Those are ascendant relationships. You want those. And then you have descendant ones where very generic people that they're stuck. They're in a state of stuckness. They're not going to change. They have bad habits. Sort of mediocrity is the norm for them. Mediocrity is the standard. And if you start doing a little bit better than them, they get very insecure about it because it's sort of the magic mirror to their own, their own lacks. So which one is it going to be? It's one or the other. Like there's you could always name exceptions, but there's very situations where someone is really good for you here, but really bad for you there. Someone's either they're good for you in your life or they are bad for you. Pick one.
Yeah, it's pretty black and white. I mean, for the most part, yeah. I mean, there's either good influences or not. And I would argue, too, that if you try to make the case for someone who, as we all know, is pretty much a bad influence, but maybe they do one thing well, I would say it's not worth that one thing, right? No. Because of all the other bullshit that they bring to the table that drags you down just because they might be supportive or helpful in one way. It doesn't balance out the scales, right? There's such a pull. You'd be better off saying, let me go find someone else who could be a mentor in that area and just relieve myself of this baggage, this bullshit, this weight that's pulling me down, because it's just not worth it. And, environment, you're right, is everything. Going to every basic goal that you might have in life, whether it's weight loss, making money, whatever, followers on Twitter, it's always more than likely going to come down to your environment. Or I should say the environment that you create, because a lot of people feel like, well, you guys, like I hear all the time about our Twitter people, oh, you guys are a bunch of circle jerks, right? Like you guys are just sitting around, helping each other, yeah. We're creating an environment.
I always crack up at that one where it's like, you guys circle jerk each other, you stupid fucks. I'm like, all right, so you have a bunch of guys who want each other's businesses to succeed, and generally care about the other guys doing well.
Yeah.
So we try to mutually support each other all the time. Like, wow, what a bunch of assholes. We're just like the fucking worst people online.
That sounds like the worst circle jerk I've ever been a part of. Yeah, dude. I mean that, but once again, that's just that mirror. You know what I mean? I just love circle jerk. I'm just picturing like
obviously there's a certain visual image that comes with that. But then I realize too, like a lot of men today, they have no one around supportive of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a weird combination. Like it's a thing of like, it's a lack of these people always project. Like that's the idea. Like I'm very big on like mech theory. People's projection on you is always something that they lack in themselves. So them calling you a stupid fucking bro meathead, I'm like, I guarantee you that's a guy that's insecure about how he looks, his
Absolutely.
body. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't care that much. If you truly did not give a shit about your personal appearance, it would not bother you seeing someone that cares about their personal appearance.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I don't get on Twitter and talk shit about people that are good at things that I'm not good at. I don't care.
No.
I don't care. You'll never see me do that. But so people always project, but I realize like a lot of these guys, I'm like they're probably lonely. They probably don't have male friends or like a male support network. And to see other guys that like each other, that are friends, that are supportive, like it's very upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you realize too, this is always the funny thing. I mean, people will be very critical of social influence, of social media figures, people online who are, let's just say successful. They'll be super critical of it and like it's all bullshit, it's all scam. But yet they're using the same devices, the same platforms, and they're religiously following these people, watching everything they do.
Yeah.
I don't follow anyone specifically for the purpose of critiquing them.
Or getting pissed off.
Or getting like it's a very strange thing when you realize like you never really think about the mindset of a troll. And for a long time I thought like that's bullshit. People don't really troll. Like that's just people complaining. But as I got more popular, I'm like you get people who are just out of nowhere. You're like drive-by tweeting. I'm like, who are you? Like I've never even interacted with you. And like you have a problem with me. I'm like, it's amazing.
It's almost like they set an alarm for every time you tweet.
But then they'll follow. But then they'll follow and listen to everything you say, specifically to find things that they are upset about. And like they'll do this for months and months. I mean, I block most people at this point that do that. But I'm like, it is a very weird investment of time. I'm like, how does that feel constructive to you?
It's a sad way of living. I mean, it's just the amount of energy that you're utilizing for something so destructive for your own sake. Not. I mean, you're not going to bring us down. Like, there's no. I mean, we have such a clear mission, right? We're focused on helping and delivering value on a daily, sometimes minute by minute basis, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like when you got kicked off Twitter, the outcry from guys who had 250,000 followers down to guys who had no followers but were just like, hey, I'm just getting so much value. Hundreds of guys and females too stood up and were like, this is bullshit. Yeah. This account brought me help every day and helped me change my life or change my body or whatever. And of course there were the schmucks who were like, oh, he got what he deserved. And you don't even know how he got off Twitter.
Well, there was an element of sweet revenge to that because when I actually got my account back and got back on, I know a lot of people. There were, I'm not gonna say I care about the critics, but there is. I'll be very petty. I'm like, yeah. When I had friends send me stuff like so and so saying this about you. I'm like, yeah. I guess they are. I'm like, I'm on Twitter anymore. But then when I got the account back, I'm like, I'm back, motherfuckers. y'all gotta eat crow.
Michael Jordan.
Eat it by the fucking tin.
Yeah, no shit. I mean, I saw just kind of being an outsider and supporting and then watching a lot of the critics come in and be like, well, he should have been more careful with. I'm like, dude, first of all, we don't even know what he said. Then when we found out what you said, I was like, wait a second. So you guys, you sure you want to say that? You sure you want to say like he should have been, he should have been smarter? It's like, no, thank God someone's standing up and saying that shit. You know what I mean? I want to say it, man. Fuck, I was like, I didn't see the tweet, but had I seen it, I would have liked it, of course. I'm like, hey, that's 100% my belief too. But at the end of the day, you just got people who they live to see you fail. I mean, it gives them a small little bit, bite-sized piece of happiness in their dark world. Which is awful. I honestly feel bad for them.
I mean, I don't have any malice to those kinds of people. I'm like, it's just very sad. It's very pitiful. I'm like, but you realize there's a certain segment of the population, like you could bottom tier 20% of human beings, whatever. I'm making up numbers, but sure. There's a certain segment of people where their biggest accomplishment that they will ever extract from life is being able to participate in some small way in the downfall of someone else. They are living for that moment where they could say that they got to pile on and take someone out, somehow in their mind. They were able to cancel them. Which, I mean, if that's your greatest accomplishment, that's your greatest accomplishment, I guess.
No, we live in strange times, man. I mean, it's always surreal to me to look at my kids and be like, wow, one day you're going to grow up and this is normal, right? For me, it's still like, wait a second, I can actually tweet something out and thousands of people
can read it. Yeah.
Can read it, right? That's mind-blowing to me. I grew up with newspapers and shit, right? I mean, this type of stuff didn't happen. So to see someone who, like yourself, who can influence literally hundreds of thousands of people, and then also at the same time get, cracked over something that honestly, morally, from a moral perspective, makes sense. But someone up there was just waiting to pounce on something that they're like, well, that doesn't fit my political agenda. So I can wipe out all your hard work just like that. I mean, it's strange. It's unbelievable. You know, I mean, it's at times we live in are astounding. Just when you really sit down and think about it, you're like, wow, this is actually mind-blowing of what we can achieve and also how we can quickly go from there to nothing just by someone not liking you, basically. You know what I mean? It's pretty absurd, you know? I mean, because if you really weighed out, like, okay, how many times have you said something that maybe struck a chord, right? Just put it lightly, right?
A few times,
right? But balance that out with how many things you've done to improve the world. Fuck, it wouldn't even be like a question, right? You'd be like, well, I've helped thousands of men change their bodies and their mindset and all these things. I mean, imagine those guys and the impact then they've had on the generations that they influence. I mean, there's no question whether or not you should have a platform.
Yeah, well, my biggest, I'd say, sort of frustration with modern times is that I've seen the social discourse devolve the last 20 years, where things that are controversial today were not controversial 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I've seen society's level of, let's just say, social coherence and social IQ actually go backwards. It's devolved. And the idea now that you cannot say certain things, you can't speak of certain things, you cannot express certain opinions because they're offensive opinions. Someone might be hurt by your opinions. It's very antithetical to, honestly, just American spirit of just freedom of speech, freedom of thinking.
Yeah.
And I will readily say it stirs like a furious anger in me when I see this sort of attitude perpetuate across social media, and people have to watch what they say. Like, you either have free speech or you have no speech. It's one or the other. You can't have an in-between zone. Either you can say everything, you can say nothing. Like, freedom to speak is freedom to think. That's what that is. So playing a provocateur role, like, I don't recommend people do that. But yeah, there's lots of things where I'll see this. I'm like, why can't we actually say the truth about this? Like, why do we have to hold back opinions?
Do you think it's so much? Well, do you think it's where we're saying it, or the fact that we can't say it at all? Right? Because if you went out and wrote a book on, on how to end pedophilia, right? You could publish that, and whoever's going to buy it's going to buy it, right? You're not going to get put in prison for that.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't. But the social platforms, like, they're run by, like, I just call it, like, leftist lunatics, and so, like, they are very hypersensitive to anything that threatens so-called diversity, tolerance, inclusion. These falsified, this fake values, they're not real values at all.
Sure.
They don't mean anything. Diversity of what? Of colors? That's just basically this racism without the racism. Like, when you talk about diversity, I'm like, are you talking about diversity of people's thinking and experiences, or just talking about that you want different colored people in the room? Same thing with inclusion. Everyone has to be part of everything. Why?
Right.
It does not logically follow at all. It's non sequitur. Like, okay, you're going to emphasize how important it is to have diverse colorism, but then you also want to include everything and say it's all the same.
Sure.
While also excluding people on the basis of color and political affiliation. Like, that doesn't line up at all. It doesn't make sense. It does not. Again, it's logically incoherent. Same thing with tolerance. We have to tolerate all ideas. Okay. Well, if you can tolerate all ideas, then you actually have to tolerate all ideas. Then all ideas are fair in the marketplace. Oh, well, no, that's actually not what we mean. We only tolerate the things that we want to tolerate, and this half of the country and your things, like those, that's intolerable. We need to not allow that to be perpetuated spoken. I'm like, all right, so that belief right there is hypocritical bullshit.
Sure.
It's complete hypocrisy.
That's like Trump. I'm not a 100% pro-Trump guy, right? In fact, I stay far out. Politics is just not my passion. I think they're mostly crooks and liars, and I prefer to focus on my family and my business. And right, so I don't have a political passion. But I look at the Trump scenario, and I think my problem is not that people don't like Trump, right? My problem is that people don't like people liking Trump, and it becomes this thing of like we're gonna cipher off everybody who likes Trump, and we're only gonna promote the anti-Trump message, right?
Yeah.
And the people who stand up and say, well, I actually like some of the things he's done. They're like, well, fuck you. You're done. Like, you're out. You're a criminal. You're fucking, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's absurd.
What I saw in the last, I've had a lot of red pill moments over the course of my life. I'll go back to like 2007, 2008. So like Great Recession, 2008. So like my parents' like house got foreclosed. The county where I lived in, it was like 1-4 houses got foreclosed. So I knew lots of people.
Yeah.
And that was a red pill moment in the sense that I realized that the way that I had been raised was sort of like this American dream of go to college, buy a house is an asset, it all works out. I'm like, okay, this clearly doesn't work. Or at least like it doesn't. It's not this perfect ideal pathway that's been laid out before us, because I saw a lot of people lose that and they really don't know what to do. losing their home was very destabilizing. I'm like, okay, there's clearly things that these so-called sort of elites and these things. There's economic events that happen that can't be readily predicted. And this gets sort of like in like black swan crises and like things you don't see coming. I'm like, all right, so the narrative that I was sort of taught about the world, I'm like, I don't think it's a complete accurate narrative. Like I'm clearly missing things. And then I went to college in San Francisco, and I saw like a very liberal city that I thought did not function very well at all.
Sure.
And I got exposed to like what it would be deemed today like, like lunatic progressivism. Like this is all based upon this like bullshit. It's made up terminology. It's made up phrasing. It's absolute contrived beliefs that are when people talk about postmodernism, like postmodernism meaning what? It's meaning things that are basically it's a way of thinking that you try to be antithetical to the past and everything that has really sort of like worked throughout human history, and you're trying to recreate meaning and recreate language, but it has no basis in actual factual reality. So I'm like, but this was like 10 years ago. I'm like, okay, something's clearly kind of off with like this, the way education's going. Like I was at state school in San Francisco. I'm like, this doesn't feel like real education. This kind of it's bullshit, a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I could see I went to the city. I'm living in SF. I'm like, I got exposed to like a lot of things. Like I saw like gay culture. I'm like, so SF has like extremely high rates of STDs. I'm like,
sure.
Oh, like but I got told the narrative. I'm like, this is gonna sound homophobic right now. I'm like, I got told the narrative of like, oh, we need, how dare anyone be like anti-gay? Like homosexuality is normal. I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine. That's totally normal.
Right.
Okay, cool. I'm like, oh, wow, these guys have really high rates of STDs. Oh, they have really, really high numbers of sexual partners. Oh, like this culture is actually kind of like a little degenerate. Like, it's a lot of it's just like prioritizes sex and just like sexual flamboyance. I'm like, how is this like a moral value?
Right.
I understand being accepting of people's sexual orientation. Okay, sure. But like, how do you make this in like, oh, well, you need to be intolerant. I'm like, all right, like tolerance is fine. But, like, how is this a moral good though? Like, why are we championing this sort of like LGBTQ culture? Like, if you don't support that, you're like an evil person. Like, what is this culture exactly? Because here's the thing. Because heterosexuality, I'm like, heterosexuality that makes me morally good. I'm like, heterosexuality is just part of nature. It's neither. It's not moral. It is neither immoral or I'm looking for the right word. It's amoral. Heterosexuality is amoral. Yes, animals reproduce. There's different sexes. I don't look at a man and be like, oh, look, what a good man for having sex with women. Like, he's just such a good person. I'm like, that's just natural biology. So I'm like, okay, so I'm being homosexual. Like, okay, they're homosexual. Big deal. Well, we need to promote that. Promote what? Like, we're talking about something that's 3, 4, 5% population at most. I'm like, how is this a virtue? Why is it being presented that way? So I saw that there. I'm like, this is a really weird, this contrived, again, this bullshit situation. And then I moved to Hollywood in 2000, 2011. And then I got exposed. I'm going really deep right now down the rabbit hole. But like, I was living, working in Hollywood, training actors, and I was, before Harvey Weinstein ever blew up, that whole situation.
Sure, yeah.
I became very aware very fast that there is a legitimate culture of sexual abuse, sexual depravity, sexual exploitation in Hollywood, both on the heterosexual and gay side, basically.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I had clients. I worked in West Hollywood. I saw guys where, they'd be, basically trafficking teenage boys. I'm like, that was like a regular thing to see there.
Jesus.
Yeah, I worked at a gym where I regularly saw like older men walking in with like guys that I could tell were probably in high school. I'm like, this is really fucking weird.
It's awful.
Yeah, I had clients that worked in Hollywood, and they were very open about, like, because everybody it was open secret. Like, like you're kind of expected to basically like either, how do you want to take it? You can take it up the ass, you can take it in the mouth. Like, you're going to take it somehow.
Yeah, you're getting it.
Women, same thing. Like, casting couch is entirely real. It was very well known, certain, producers, directors, actors who were basically perverts and who wasn't. And who was uncomfortable on set and who was not. Like, none of that's secret. But it was just part of the culture there, and that made me realize, okay, like, Hollywood's like really fucked up.
Yeah.
This is not like there's a level of
just partying and drugs.
No, there's a level of glamour to it. I'm like, there's a dark underbelly. So I'm like, all right, like, there's clearly, but like, you don't see that though. That really didn't become a thing until 2 years ago. I'm like,
whistleblowers.
My kind of point to all this, I'm like, I realized that, like, okay, there's clearly levels of society that are not exposed, that are this sick and twisted, but there is a sort of like a bright, shiny wrapping paper around them. And, like, we're not going to talk about, we're not going to let that out, and we're just going to let it go. So, like, it was the moments like that where I'm like, it got me shifting my mindset. And then, when Obama got elected, I don't think he was a particularly bad president, but at the same time, like, there were certain laws that he passed to limit freedom of the press that were unfriendly. I remember, like, the Iran scandal, like, saving them billions of freaking dollars. Obviously the thing, Clinton and the Benghazi, where I'm like, that was a shit show. I'm like, it was not a perfect president. And at the same time, too, I saw, like, with the Title IX Yeah, I forget the name of like the executive decision, but like when the Title IX thing got passed, where like the kangaroo court sprang up, where guys could, in college you could basically just get told, a girl could basically say like, he raped me, and with no evidence you get assumed to be guilty.
You're guilty before proven
you're
innocent.
guilty. You're guilty for being proven innocent, and you get taken to kangaroo court. I'm like, I saw all this stuff happen under Obama. I'm like, something's gone wrong in the United States. Yeah, I noticed it especially more as I traveled across the U.S. in like sort of like my mid-20s, and I saw a lot of men that were homeless. I saw a lot of guys where I could tell like unemployment was actually up in certain sectors. And I traveled through towns that had been devastated by like the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement and jobs living. I'm like, okay, like there's clearly things in the U.S. that have gone wrong. And I can't say that it's any one thing, but it's a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then I knew too. I'm like, okay, if Hollywood's fucked up, let's just say, and like entertainment industry, I'm like, I can only imagine what politics are like.
Oh,
like it's probably worse.
Worse, yeah.
And then when Trump came along in 2015, the thing was I never cared about politics, and it was not a situation like, oh, I want to be pro-Trump, but I realized it was a very unusual scenario of like he was a legitimate political outsider.
Yeah.
And he had no party affiliation loyalty ties. He was just a guy where, whether it was his ego, him being a sociopath, he actually wanted to run for presidency, and he had the money to do it. And I saw the media where, under Obama, they were very, the media runs very, very left. And if you look at the stats in the United States, where at one time back in like 1950s, 60s, you went to a college campus, about half the professors were, let's just say, conservative Republican, half were Democrat progressive. Now it's like 90-10 progressive to conservative. Yep. It's super liberal. And so I saw the media that had been very, sort of like, just basically ass slapping of Obama where he could do no wrong. When Trump came along, oh yeah, I'm not going to deny he's crass, but I never, actually watching him, I never saw anything that was, I would consider, racist, horrifying behavior. Like, okay, the pussy grabbing, yeah, you could certainly criticize that, but
sure.
Clinton also got his dick sucked in office God knows how many times. Like, it's also very hypocritical. Yeah, like, oh, good God, Bill Clinton was one of our best friends.
His best friend was Jeffrey Epstein.
Bill Clinton was accused of rape, like sexual assault, like
his best friend was Jeffrey
three or four
Epstein.
times. I'm like, knowing that, I'm like, okay, Trump, grabbing the pussy. I'm like, the level of behavior the Democratic Party tolerated with Clinton, I'm like, get the fuck out. You guys are so full of shit.
Oh,
but so anyway, but I watched him. I'm like, I really can't find anything that's like, what a piece of shit. I'm like, he has like a very pro-American, basically like social isolation, foreign isolation agenda. Yeah, is he doing it for personal gain? Yeah, maybe, whatever. But I'm like,
an ego.
Yeah, he has an ego. I'm like, I couldn't find anything that was objectionable. But then I saw the media where they went full force, just basically like 1984, like thought crime. Yeah. Everything was taken out of context. Everything was spun. Every headline was changed and altered. Everything was misrepresented. The stories were completely fabricated. And it went venomous. It wasn't just like, okay, get this guy out of the race. It was, we need to basically just destroy his social reputation. Yeah. And by, just him being, like I said, probably having like the mind of a child and just not caring, he's actually survived all of it.
Unbelievable.
But I saw the media, and like Cernovich, where my buddy Mike Cernovich, he would call them out all this stuff. I'm like, this has gone from being slanted to just outright fucking lying. I watch mainstream media like truly devolve into just a propaganda machine of just pure bullshit. And then as that happened, and as I started seeing people I knew personally, like, or Twitter friends I knew, where they started getting run through the smear machine, I'm like, then it became like, fuck you guys. Like, oh, I'm gonna go super pro Trump. Like, fuck all of you. Like, and then I realized too, like, there's a legitimate political ideological divide in the United States, and there's legacy media, and they want to preserve their power, and then you have sort of like these decentralized, whether you want to call it traditionalist or libertarian or conservative or classical liberal, where they're like, no, fuck you. Like, you guys have an agenda, and you're horrible people, and you have no real concern for the truth at all. And then it made me very like question, like, has the media ever been truthful, or has it all been contrivance? Because I've seen so many of my friends lied about over and over and over and over and over, and tried the takedown culture and the cancel culture. And then I saw in the course of being alive, I'm 30 now, I saw the United States get more racist.
Absolutely.
But not racist in the sense that people are more racist where they actually hate other people. Racist in the sense that we're now encouraged to judge and assess people on skin color, on ethnicity. Which growing up in the 1990s, that was not a thing. It was.
I feel like we took a huge.
Yeah, it was the counter message was don't assess people on skin color. Like, yes, stereotypes may exist, but like you can joke about everybody, but be tolerant and character. Very like MLK. Yeah. Like let's assess by character. Okay, that's actually a pretty good message, I think.
Character, yeah.
Yeah, you judge people by their character. Now it's judge people by their political party, their race, where they grew up. Are you from Texas? Oh, you're probably a fucking backwards racist Nazi redneck. It's like,
do you believe in gender?
Do you believe gender? I'm like, it's gone absolutely fucking insane. So, Yeah, that's why, again, I'll make the point, supporting Trump or being, whatever you say, like, not anti-Trump, pro-Trump, basically. I'm like, it's basically just a fuck you to lunacy.
Yeah.
Like, all the progressive bullshit. I forget why we started talking about this, but, yeah, I say all this to demonstrate, like, over the course of, like I said, the living in the U.S., like, over the last 30 years, like, I've seen the United States change. And like I said, like, you don't realize how insane the bubble is unless you leave it and you go to a country where people don't care about race or politics or any of these things, because those places do exist. Most of the world actually doesn't care about politics to the degree America does, and you realize, like, wow, this country's gone, like, it's actually gotten very unhealthy. I can see how it makes people crazy.
Yeah, I was just in London, and London is close to American. Mm-hmm. It's pretty Americanized, right? It's very similar to like New York, and there's a lot of diversity, and they have a pretty good pulse on what's happening over here. But even then, in just discussions with the locals and the surrounding parts of London, this whole thing that people get so worked up about here, to them is a joke. Mm-hmm. They're like, really? You guys actually, you actually do give a fuck about Trump? Like, I thought it was just a joke. I thought everybody just laughed. It's like, no, like, people get extremely worked up about this stuff.
People
lose sleep.
They all have anxiety attacks every day following him on Twitter just to give themselves anxiety attacks.
Like, there's top media people retweeting his stuff, excuse me, calling him the worst possible things on earth, like saying he's an evil, vile person. It's like, it's crazy. And over there, they're like, oh, we thought it was just kind of a joke. Like, we didn't really think you guys took it that seriously. Mm-hmm. Like, no, we do. Or, not we, but people.
Yeah, no, people take it very, very seriously. But at the same time, like I said earlier, like everyone gets drawn into this sort of like spiritual warfare fight now. Like, okay, you want to run a business and have no opinions about anything, you better never say anything out of step ever about anything ever express it.
You better not be a human.
Yeah, like you can say nothing about anything that is remotely might be a perspective, because someone's going to have a problem with it.
Yeah, I saw. I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle, one of those two guys, who talked about cancel culture and how it's just become absurd. Like, it's literally now to the point where we throw out all the rule books, we throw out all the justice, and it's basically a she said situation, or a troll said situation.
Or a mob said they said situation.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have a say at all. Like, it's basically, oh, that person accused you of this, you're guilty, now let's do some research. And it's like, well, wait a second. That's not, I mean, America was it's not really why we're here, right? I mean, it doesn't really make sense. It's a scary time to live in, because God forbid, not even make a mistake. God forbid you just piss someone off because you said something that is true, or you said something that was helpful, and that person took it and said, oh, fuck that guy, and starts this storm to bring you down. There's really, and not to say I live in fear, because truth be told, I don't live in fucking fear. You want to come after me? Fucking bring it. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I've been canceled at least 4 or 5 times now.
You're not going to cancel me permanently.
No.
Hurt me temporarily, but, you can win the battle. We'll talk about the war later, right? But it's like, at the end of the day, I just, as a culture, I think, man, in a way, I had this conversation with our buddy Tanner. I said, one side of me is disappointed, fearful in a way for the generation that's coming up now and some of the things that are taking place. But on the other side, I'm almost excited, because I'm like, my boys are going to have the upper fucking hand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because in my home, where the influencer culture, they don't need influencer culture. They have influence right here, where this whole war, the spiritual fucking warfare and all this crazy shit, they're going to have clarity on what it really means to have morals, right? And what it really means to have standards versus these fucking people who their standard is whatever they feel, however they wake up that day. Mm-hmm. It's absurd.
Man. Yeah, feelings are facts, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I think in like probably the next two decades, you're going to see, I won't say a backlash, will be a backlash where, because leftism and progressivism is so emotionally, socially fragile, it's not based on anything real. It just falls apart, like on a long timeline. Yeah, and I'm starting to see that, even now, where people are forming sort of like offline networks, and like even like the people we know, like they're very much like sort of dominating life, you could say.
Sure.
Yeah, they're doing so in a way that's quite anti-fragile.
Yeah.
And they're actually creating something. Like, activism is not creating anything. Like if you want to create something, like start a business, make 7 figures a year, do that.
Sure.
Like make that thing, hire people, employ people. Like actually be a father figure, role model, like to men in your culture, like whatever your local culture is.
Sure.
Like, raise some sons that way, raise up men. That will have a real impact on the world at large. trying to tear everything down that you think is offensive to you, you're going to be left with an empire of nothing. It's just dust. It's a culture of dust.
Yeah, no, I say their time is coming. Who knows when that will come? Who knows when the forces will shift? I think there's a clear gaping hole for morality. However you want to spin that, right? Whatever your beliefs are. I mean, personally, I'm a Christian, but that doesn't mean that we don't share similar moral beliefs, right? We don't share similar moral standards and character and the things that you talked about. I think there's a gaping hole that will need to be filled at some point soon that has been created, right? It's been created by these lunatics who just for whatever reason think that's I don't know if it could be a backlash against maybe a hole in their lives that was missing. We talk about masculinity all the time, right? Where there may have been a huge chain of just poor masculinity or even a poor feminine approach in their homes and their households, and just a lack in leadership, if you will, for a better term, lack in guidance, lack in mentorship, whatever it is. There's a whole generation that I feel like has missed it, and it is now there's just this backlash, and this is what we're seeing, right? But then someone like Trump comes in, and it's like a tidal wave hitting a pole that won't move, right? It's like you can throw everything at this guy, and I'm not saying I like the guy and the way he operates, but he just stands for something that is not necessarily morally correct, but is just the basically the backlash from this other backlash, right? To say like, oh, you guys want to go that far left? Okay, cool. Here's what's going to happen, right? This is the product that you created. I mean, literally, he's the byproduct.
Yeah, Trump is he's like sort of the shadow of American consciousness, where you try to create this insane, progressive, lunatic culture, that's based on just infactuality. All right, well, now here's where you're going to get back. Exactly. You're going to get someone that is. I don't know whether he's a legitimate sociopath, but you're going to get someone who...
I think he might be.
Psychopath. He's effective. You're going to get someone who doesn't give a fuck about your feelings.
Right.
You're going to get someone who is completely immovable as an object.
Yep.
You're going to get a guy who can play the game better than you can, who will turn every single thing that you try to say against him.
You think you're dirty.
Yeah, he'll try to turn... Everything you say against him will turn around right back on you.
Yep.
And you'll be exhausted by somebody that is so... stupidly macho masculine to the point almost a caricature, but he's so brutally effective that now you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Now that's your world leader. So suffer the consequences.
Basically, yeah. That's what I look at Trump as. To me, it doesn't affect my life. I don't go, oh fuck, who's in the office? I really give a shit. I could care as long as we're not in, communist fucking America or something. Like I'm okay with, if Obama or Trump is. I'm taking care of my family. I'm going to find a way to, even if that means leaving, right? Even if that means getting out, that's fine. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at now is just a consequence. It's all it is. It's okay, well, you want to go here? Well, here's what's going to happen. And then there's going to be more. There's obviously going to be more consequence from what Trump has now created. They're trying to at least.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look now, the scrambling that's taking place, it's like humorous, right? It's like you have these people trying to quote unquote, get Trump out of office. But now it's like what Jay-Z said, don't argue with a fool, because from a distance we can't tell who's who. And that's exactly what's happening. So everyone's like, well, Trump's such an idiot. Well, look at you. Look at you trying to bicker with him. He's playing your game because he doesn't care. You can call him every name in the book. But once again, it's just like you said. It's just that response to this lunacy. I mean, that's really all it is.
Yeah, well, the thing that I think long term, culture is not accidental. Like we live in culture. Like culture evolves to have way of consequences in many areas. Yeah, and I never expected to be put myself in the front lines of this, and I would never suggest most people do. But at the same time, yeah, and Stefan Molyneux said this when I was at 21Con. He's like, politics actually does affect modern culture, and I've seen this even with the Generation Z kids, where the guys that are teenagers today, they've grown up in a culture where they've seen people get canceled. You can get completely just destroyed over saying any one wrong thing one time, whether it be slightly racist or slightly sexist, or you offend the wrong person, or a girl didn't like you because you're, every 13-year-old boy is awkward and can probably be semi-creepy at some point. Oh, I guess you're a rapist now. I'm like, because you looked at me funny, or you tried to tap my arm. I'm like, okay, we're going to, there's just there's so much insanity.
Yeah.
And so the kids today, I've seen they're actually they're hyper-conservative. They're hyper-conservative. They watch what they say online.
Yep.
They're very private. They don't want to speak out of turn, so to speak. And at the same time, they put immense value in privacy, whereas For like millennial Gen X, it's like social media was cool, share everything.
Yeah.
Now the younger one's like, no, don't share everything. Just maybe entertain people, but like don't say anything about anything that might get you in trouble with anything. So it's been a reversal effect. I'm like, okay, these kids, they're going to create a very different world than the one we grew up in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and like like if you want to stay ahead of the game, you have to stay ahead of the curve, and you have to know what people's inclinations and instincts are that way. Otherwise, I've seen this with boomer people now too, like from my parents' age, where like they don't understand how the world got to where it's at right now. It's like, oh my God, things have changed so much.
Sure.
I don't feel good about the future. I'm like, you made this all happen 20, 30 years ago.
Yes.
Like consequences pile up. There's third order consequences that you actually can predict, but you just don't think very far ahead. Certain things like I've seen in the U.S. for like the lack of infrastructure in a lot of places. I'm like, maybe you should have fucking voted on that back in 1990. I'm like, there's so many minor things that become major things of like, well, how did this happen? You made it happen because you didn't pay attention to it because you thought it wouldn't matter. People think these things, it doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal. Like, no, it is a big deal.
Right.
Now, a long enough timeline, it's going to become a big deal, and then you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, I made a tweet the other day. I was like, there is no such thing as it doesn't really matter.
No.
Because every little thing, every little thing matters. And the little things, they may not seem significant today, but if you compound them, they add up tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it's a monster that you've created. And it was just because you didn't pay attention to the little things that were little previews or little hints along the way. And now you think, well, shit, how did we get here, man? Well, fuck, look back. You know exactly how we got here. And so I mean, it does, I think, lend itself to the discussion of like, all right, so how are we as, we're still young, we're in our 30s, how are we adding to a positive future, whether that's here in the U.S. or wherever we end up, right? How are we contributing to a society that is going to be a high-functioning, well put together society? We have to. I think it's important to always look internally and say, like, how am I helping to? If I'm not okay with the narrative today and what's happening, like, how can I contribute to a future that I want my kids to live in, or I want my friends to live in? What am I doing? Is arguing on Twitter, is that really going to fucking do anything? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I mean, that's why I got so much more involved the past year, like a lot of fraternal groups, like the War Room, supporting Fraternity of Excellence, being part of OneCon, where like if you want to change the future, like you have to create masculine men. Like modern society, it's very much like my buddy Richard Grant calls it, like we live in a world of yin. It's like all feminine energy. Everyone consumes, they take in. It's soft. It's impotent. It's weak.
Sure.
It's soft in the wrong ways. It's flexible and to the point of weakness. Like, we need more yang energy. We need more masculinity. We need to make men strong again, legitimately. Like, men need to feel comfortable being men, being assertive, being aggressive, being decisive, not believing in bullshit equalism. Like, oh, you want to get along with a girl like you're her gay best friend? No, like, act like a fucking man.
Sure.
Women crave dominance and assertion. If you go to anywhere that's not the United States or, let's just say, the UK, which is a failed society, you go to any other country besides those two places, women expect men to act like men.
Absolutely.
They expect you to be strong. They expect you to make decisions. They expect you to take control of the situation. They expect you to lead. They expect you to be sexual. They expect you to, have emotional stability and control.
Sure.
This equalism. I have anxiety. I'm a sad boy. Let me act like a Disney prince. I want like a mommy girlfriend. Like, it's fucking disgusting.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, it's a culture of fucking weak, impotent men. I'm like, so what's going to change the future? The world is built by men, fundamentally. Like, the world's built by men. Male energy is what provides stability for everything. So, like, that's why my message now is, like, so pro-masculine. I'm like, yeah, because the world needs it. Because I have guys contacting me every day all the time where them being assertive, them being strong, like, not only doesn't change their life, it changes their relationships with everyone they know. But they also grow up in a world, too, where, like, they've never seen that kind of role model. Like, their dad was a weak piece of shit. Their mom was domineering. Or they had no father. Like, they've never actually seen a man that acts like a man.
Yeah.
So then, and I never expected to be in this position ever. Like, it was not it was never my intention. Like, I want to be a leader of men.
So you grew up thinking that.
No, hell no. Like, I just, like, years and years ago, I just wanted to fucking be a ballet dancer and just be left alone and like fuck.
And here we are talking about masculinity.
Now I'm here. I'm like, okay,
what a sick joke.
Yeah, what a wheel of fortune, like.
Right.
But
who would have predicted?
No, but being like a leader of men situation, like men need to see that there are men out there where, guess what? Like, on lockdown, they're making money, they're fit, they're positive. They got great relationships with women. They take no shit, and they live their life their way, my way, and you can't stop me from doing that.
Right.
And you're not gonna stop me because you don't like my politics. You're gonna stop me because you have a problem with toxic masculinity. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I keep going down the list.
Masculinity is a made up thing.
Fuck all of you. It's completely made up.
It's fabricated. It's not real.
Yeah, toxic masculinity is male feminism.
Absolutely.
The most toxic men in the world are fucking male feminists. They're all rapists. They're all fucking creepy pedophiles.
Best piece of advice I ever was given was never trust a male feminist.
Yep.
Because they're a problem.
Those are the toxically masculine men. It's those guys.
Yes. It's the you know what it is? It's sheep in wolf's clothing. That's exactly what it is.
That's a great way of describing it.
That is who you're really after, but you have now targeted men who are real men because you can't see the toxic men that are in your life. They're hiding, right? They're hiding in your life, which is hilarious. I mean, at the end of the day, you mentioned guys, reaching out to you and stuff. What's funny is I have more females comment on things saying, "I wish there were more masculine men."
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. I wish there were more guys like you. Like I can't find anyone that's like. Do you know where I can find them?
Yeah, like this message, like the strong, be fit, be a good dad. Those are things that, believe it or not, women actually want.
Yeah, like the thing is, like I'm concerned. Nothing that we say is like even controversial. I'm like, this is just such basic stuff. But
I know.
Like,
it's like
guys have not been taught it. They've been taught to just be fucking bitches and sit with their legs closed and pee sitting down. Like that's how they've been raised. Like literally piss. Yeah, maybe like learn that like piss sitting down because you don't want to offend somebody. Like that's been the overall attitude. If I had to wrap it up into something,
I was discouraged as a youth to be a guy with friends who were women. That was not a thing.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, well, if you're hanging out with a girl, there's only one thing that's probably happening,
there's only one dynamic that's really underlying that.
Well, there's two options: either you're gay or not. This is not a reference to homosexuality at all. It's just growing up. It was like, hey, look, my goal is not to befriend a bunch of women and be some white knight or whatever. It was like, hey, I'm gonna be a boy. I'm gonna be a man, a youth, and I'm gonna be aggressive. And my dad was the definition of a man, right? Like in terms of his hobbies and whatnot. So I had that in my life. Now, he also was an alcoholic and an abuser, but not in a toxic masculinity way. It was he had a drinking fucking problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, his dad had a drinking problem and a drug problem. So it wasn't toxic masculinity. It was substance abuse. But now people are like, oh God, and it's funny. It didn't really hit me. So once again, I try to stay clear of a lot of political bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it hit me when I started watching fucking Disney movies with my kids. I watched 5 fucking Disney movies, and the hero or heroine or whatever was a female.
Yeah.
And the joke of the movie was the lead male.
Yeah.
Every single one.
I will tell you right now, there is absolutely an agenda, and people think like, oh, there's no agenda. I'm like, media is an agenda. Like popular entertainment, there's an agenda. Watching like stuff like Disney, even kids' cartoons today, you will see no masculine men at all. The male characters will just be jokes or like punchlines.
Overweight. Yep.
Yeah, everything will be like heroin, Shiro, bullshit focused. That's why like I imagine like if I kids today, like you're not watching any fucking Disney movies they're made in the last 10 years.
Dude,
I'm gonna pull up some old ass cartoons from 1990, and you're not watching shit past 1985.
Well, isn't that crazy though? Because I pulled up Beauty and the Beast, right? And there's Gaston and the Beast himself.
Yeah.
Both very masculine.
The Beast is pretty
characters.
toxic. He's like basically, fucking emotional abuser, isolates her, physically abusive.
Throws her, the woman in the cage.
Keeps her in a fucking cage. Like fucking separates her from her father.
Yeah.
Like it was emotionally, like probably narcissistic.
Absolutely.
All these fucking things. She still falls in love with him. Of course she does.
Loves him.
Yeah.
Waits on him hand and foot.
Fucking goes back there to save his life, and
But the thing is, there's also Gaston, right? Who what I tell people is, look, Gaston is not toxic masculinity either. He's just an asshole.
Like the thing that's interesting about Beauty and the Beast is I've lectured on this before. But Beauty and the Beast, it shows you 2 forms of the same character. So like you have Gaston, which is like sort of like the buffoon level of masculinity, where he's like proverbially very alpha. He's the biggest guy. He's dude's like I could sing the song. Jack, chest hair, the strongest. All these things.
Stuff.
But because he's entitled and he feels entitled to like the hot girl's attention, she does not want him. And because she's, you could say this is feminist. I'm like, no, it's not. Like he's a dumb man. So because he feels entitled to her attention, and he's not interesting to her at all, she wants nothing to do with him. So it doesn't matter all like the other alpha qualities. Like he's actually like. In a way, he is very beta in the sense that because he wants her attention. He expects her to act a certain way towards him. She doesn't want to do it.
Right.
So, like, he's not leading the frame at all. Like, it's her. He's trying to get her, like, oh, come on, be in love with me. No. What's your problem? Like, so it's like a huge turnoff. Whereas, and she goes and finds the Beast, who really just treats her horribly for, like, half of the encounter, and then sort of, like, softens his approach. But, because he knows that she doesn't want to be in love with him, like, and he's sort of like, you could say, like, outcome independent, in that way.
Sure.
Funny enough, it's like, oh, well, him, like, she actually falls for him. He's pleasantly surprised by it. He's like, oh, wow. So, like, I mean, but they have very much similar qualities. They're both big. One's an animal. They're both big guys. They're both very brutish.
Yep.
The running joke I've used in, like, a few presentations now, like, but, the Beast has, like, a library. Yes. So, but that's a very critical scene in that film, because it shows you, like, the dynamic between men and women, that women are enthralled by men that can capture their attention.
Sure.
Like, if you really want to get a woman to fall in love with you, you have to be inside her mind. Like, she has to think. You have to tap into the imagination, which like the Beast actually does that. Because, like, he takes her to the library. He's like, you can read all these books. This is all for you.
Sure.
Oh, like, no one's ever sort of, like, presented that to her before. And does he read or not? Who gives a shit? But the point being, like, it's actually, like, he taps into her imagination.
Yes.
Now she has access to a whole world that she's never had access to before, and, like, now she's, like, looking at him very differently. Whereas, like, with Gaston, he doesn't read books. So, like, like the feminine imagination is completely shut off to him.
Sure.
Completely. But, like, so that movie, it's cool. Like, I love that film, because you can analyze it in so many different ways, but it shows you, even for guys who try to act stereotypically alpha, like, what I call, like, the chest being kind of masculinity, it's still, like, on a certain level bullshit.
Yes.
If you believe that you're entitled to female attention because of what you look like, or because, like, you think you're the biggest, baddest, you're going to get groupie women.
For sure,
like,
and
there's
service level.
Yeah, there's those women, like, even the film, like the triplets, where it's like, oh, Gaston.
People
like,
who buy People magazine.
Yeah, like groupies, basically. It's like, oh, he's the hottest guy. Then you have, like, but the girl who's, like, let's say, like, the quality girl, where she's not going to be impressed by you being the biggest dude that way. It's like, no, you actually have to, like, make me fall in love with you. Do something.
She has the pick of the litter.
She has to pick a litter. It's like, oh, okay, now, because I'm an idiot, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
You're supposed to like me.
It's hilarious, but that movie would get a lot of hate.
That movie wouldn't even get made today. That's a fucking hysterical. That would never get made today. Like, that actually would not get made today.
No.
They'd switch it up. They'd remake it. Where, like,
they did. They remade it. They live action. Did you see who they had play the Beast?
Oh, God, yeah.
That was my point. That was my point.
I forgot about that fucking film. I tried to block that movie out, honestly. I tried to actually block that film out. It was that fucking bad.
That's exactly my point. They did remake it, but they made the guy feminine.
Yeah, no, well, they made the Beast this into a bitch.
Yes, a bitch.
He got like what I can't remember, like, I'm trying to remember the film. Like, so Gaston had, like, the gay sidekick, because we have to have diversity and inclusion. Which is fucking stupid.
Right,
Like,
makes no sense.
No sense. Half the people in France
guy would never be hanging out with that guy.
And then they're in France, and half the cast is, like, I don't know, just like a pick of brown countries. I'm like, this is just fucking dumb. Like, it's France, man. Like, it's like, it's gonna be white French people. Like, come the fuck on, okay? There's not any Puerto Ricans in fucking France in, like, 1750, for fuck's sake. So, like, they got the bullshit diversity cast.
Yep. They
got the gay sidekicks, since we gotta show gays are real people, because, like, gotta do that. That's a moral virtue. Yep. And then they turn. What was Gaston? He tries to, like, kill her dad or some shit. We're almost like, what?
Something like that.
He tries to, like, murder her father.
Something that was off script.
Yeah, it's just the weirdest. It was like it was such a forced plot point where I'm like, you're trying to make him like an evil. Whereas before he was envious. Now you're trying to make him like an evil guy, to, like, really drive the point that he's a villain.
Yes, yeah.
And at the
not
end,
just he's a dumb, like,
not that he's
jock.
like a dumb brute, but, like, he's evil. And then at the end. Right. The Beast doesn't fight, gets, like, shot 4 fucking times in the back or some bullshit.
Yeah, he's not.
He just acts like
beast.
A pussy.
Yeah, he's not a violent beast like in the cartoon.
I watched it. I walked out. I was disgusted by it. Like you just triggered me right now. Like, having to remember. I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch?
That was my exact. Well, I was excited because it's one of my favorite movies.
I was excited to see it, and then I left, and I was just disappointed.
I just couldn't fucking believe it, man. I was like, this is. But you know what? So predictable right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
everything's got to be made woke. Got to wokeify everything.
So predictable. I said, man, God, they really fucked it. But then my kids saw the original and they loved it. And I was like, yeah, well, we're never showing the live action.
Just pretend that version does not exist.
Live action is gone. I'm gonna erase it from your fucking memory. But yeah. No, it's hilarious. But dude, anyway, we've covered so much. We haven't even talked about fitness stuff, man. We had a lot of people ask about fitness stuff on Twitter. But the reason why you're here, one of the big reasons why you're here is we're creating a program together. 90 Days to Diesel, which we filmed over the past 2 days. Mm-hmm. Put together a no bullshit program, really, right? To help guys who are struggling to build muscle and build a diesel body, right? Something that
Yeah, I picked that because it sounded good, like
Yeah.
90 days diesel. There's alliteration, but yeah, fitness. Well, here's the thing with muscle building. It's always like both annoyed me and like I work in this industry, so I should not be annoyed by it. Yeah, when I was, this sounds so stupid to say, but like I'm gonna say it. When I was growing up in the 1990s, early 2000s,
yeah,
if you wanted to go lift weights at the gym, you got some muscle magazines and
Yep.
you read them, and you're like, wow, man, these guys are huge.
yeah,
And you go to the gym, and like I think the first time I like asked my dad to buy me a membership because I couldn't. I was like 15 and a half. I couldn't afford one. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Dad, can you just can you please take me to the gym to buy me a membership? Okay. Then I walked to the gym for the first year. Like I
Oh,
didn't have a
yeah.
car, and you just go try shit. You'd like get the copy. You fucking wrote it down and pulled it in the bag, and you just go try shit. Be like, all right,
Yeah.
it says do this for chest or shoulders or leg. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna do the things.
Just gonna do
And
it.
you just threw yourself into it, and then you'd watch like bigger guys than you, and be like, "Oh, that guy looks good." I'm like, what does he do? Like, all right, like he's okay. I'm gonna try that.
Yep.
And it was all self-experimentation. And I think everybody hopefully at some point realized like, okay, like if you want to get bigger and stronger, you gotta like lift heavy weights.
Yep.
You gotta challenge yourself, and maybe like everyone wasted time probably for a few years because they got caught up in like too high a volume or doing bullshit exercises. But it was very much like it was very exploratory, which is great. And then what I've seen today, which is like the weirdest thing to me, is that guys they want permission to go fucking train.
Oh.
And like I'll already say, I sell thousands of programs a month. Like I sell a fair number of them. Yeah, and I tell you guys what to do and the reasoning behind it. Like I encourage guys to really learn the science, but I also try to inculcate this attitude. Like you should already have that attitude where you want to self-develop yourself.
Right.
You like approach this as a process of self-discovery.
Should already be in the lab per se.
Yeah,
just
really.
need
Like
the
you want, like your
directions.
body is a laboratory. Like you are your greatest experiment. You don't need my permission to like go lift the weights properly. You don't need to find out like what are the best exercises. Like just go fucking do shit.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Those
Yeah,
things-
honestly, I mean, like you'll find what works for you on the basis of
Sure.
just like experience and just trying things and training, going to the gym and showing up. I trained for years with not that great results, but I enjoyed the process of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, like the 90s diesel program, like a lot of it, like why like I preach practice yourself. It's very old school. Like
Yeah.
it's nothing fancy. It's nothing innovative. There's nothing cutting edge in fitness at all.
No.
Like, we're doing the same shit that guys did 50, 80, 100 years ago. The same movements, similar implements, progressive overload,
Yep.
consistency, and just learning to enjoy the process of it. It took me probably no one's ever really satisfied with their physique,
Sure.
but I could say reasonably like until I was like happy with how I looked. Yeah, that took like 5 or 6 years where I felt
Yeah.
like good about how I looked. Yeah, and I was doing a lot of stuff wrong. Now like it's actually kind of nice because you have like a lot of legitimate sort of like bro science plus good science plus evidence plus just proven programs. Like you can actually cut the learning curve down and get yourself
absolutely.
training properly like within your first year, which
Maybe less than
it
that.
took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 90 days diesel program, like it's 3 months of just what's tried and proven to work, and you just follow the principles, follow the workouts, and just let the results speak for themselves at the end of it.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I hear this all the time from guys. Oh, there's so many opinions. There's so much noise. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what not to believe.
Try anything, dude. Honestly,
Just get out there and focus on one thing for a good chunk of time, and I guarantee you'll learn so much. Right? If you just put in, not even I say effort, but if you just take your focus and you put the blinders on and you say, all right, for the next 12, 16 weeks, whatever, I'm just going to follow this program. I'm gonna test. I'm gonna see how I feel, get stronger. You're going to look back and say, wow, like I just learned so much instead of looking at the grass over here, looking at grass over there, and sitting on your couch and go, well, you know what? I just don't know the exact movements to do, for my upper back and my traps. And so I'm just going to sit here until the answer appears and someone on Twitter gives me the permission to go do it, right? That is a surefire way to stay fucked, for better lack of
Oh,
term,
yeah.
right? I mean, it really, because what we did as youths who were getting into lifting, we said, okay, and sure, we had maybe less noise. I still think there was a lot of noise back
yeah,
then.
definitely.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I mean, yeah, we had a shitload of
I mean,
options.
some of the magazine routines were just stupid, but at the same
yeah.
time, you got to learn 20 different arm exercises if you did every
Sure.
routine. Like
You build up an encyclopedia of ways to train, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have options now, and you start to quickly realize what you're good at and what you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Your strengths and weaknesses, and you can attack your strengths even better because you now have a plethora of options versus, the guy who just sits back and goes, no, there's so many options, man. I just haven't found the perfect one.
but even though it's like perfection does not exist. So, like, I mean, I'm a great believer. Like, most training results are very much personality driven. If you encounter something, whether it's by your favorite bodybuilder or fitness model, whatever, and you think it's going to work for you, it's probably going to work for you because of your self belief. Like, one of the best programs I ever ran, and I wouldn't do it now because I outgrew it because my strength went up too much. Relative to the beginner deadlift program. It was like 2010, I think, maybe 2009. It was like some sort of deadlift routine. And I think I cut out like the first two parts if I only did like the first part. So, and all it was, I can almost like tell you exactly what it was. It was like deadlift, Romanian deadlift, like front squats or goblet squats. Like anything, it was like 3 sets of 5, 3x3, 3x5, 3x3, 3x8, like, and I kept doing that same fucking workout every week for a year. And I got my deadlift. I remember deadlifting like 110. I remember doing Romanian deadlifts with like the easy curl bar, like 110, right? One of those. I'm like, oh man, I can feel my hamstrings. Right, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I think there's also leg press in it. Anyway, I did that same routine for a fucking year straight, every week, and my deadlift went from fucking a plate, 185 body weight to fucking 425 in a year. Okay, I mean, you know what? Like, I was so hyped up because it kept working. My strength kept going up, and I kept pushing myself. I'm like, and I think back now, I'm like, someone could have told me, like, oh, you're going to overtrain, or you're going to plateau with your results, or say whatever bullshit, or like, like this.
Central
like,
nervous system.
yeah, you could break that routine down and say, well, it's incomplete. But I'm like, you know what? It fucking worked. I believed in it, and yeah, it got me way stronger. Same thing. Like I always joke now about the incline bench. I'm like, I've been incline benching now for a few years. I do not have good chest genetics at all. I got really long arms and like a very like a wide, upper body, but like very flat. I'm like, I just keep fucking hammering the incline bench every week, and I try to make the weights go up a little bit. And you know what? It's gone from 185 being the max to 255 being the max. I'm like, something's fucking working, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Sure.
And I could get down to the principles and 4 by doing the. I'm like, the basic principle is patience and progressive overload, and not being a dumbass and maxing out every week. And just putting the reps in. Yeah. And that applies to literally every fucking muscle group and every fucking exercise.
And the program, I think what I loved about it, at least the past couple of days looking through and everything, is just how simple it is, right? To where you're not going to feel like you go in and have a science equation that you have to solve.
No.
You go in with clarity. You can have a great workout and not be in the gym for hours upon hours. And you don't feel like, fuck, I got to have this piece of equipment, I got to have that. It gives you a program that you can just go in and basically do in any decent gym, right? Any average gym, you can go in and crush it and get amazing results because you have a plan that is catered to someone who just wants no bullshit, right? Who just wants to say, hey, I want to see the results. I want to have something that isn't going to be super complicated and something that's going to, drive home my primary goal, which is to build muscle. And, because there's so many programs out there that make it so much more complicated than it has to be. It's just unnecessary.
It's strange to me because I've trained with so many people, and like all the biggest guys I've ever trained with, they keep things so simple.
Oh, dude, the most developed physiques,
I mean, then I've seen like even the best powerlifters I know where they have like really like they have true career longevity and stay injury free, and like they're still lifting their 40s, and like they're not hurt, and like their workouts are like all right, like one of the guys I follow, Greg Panora, like he's I think he's in his 40s now, but it's like I know who does this program. He's a good friend of mine, but like his leg workout, like our squats, it's like, all right, safety bar squats. It's just like he's doing this like basic squats, like all right, 4 sets of 3, and then 1 set like all out, and then like some goblet squats, some lunges, like that's leg curl. It's like 4 things.
Sure,
that's a whole workout. It's like all right, well this is the heavy thing, 3 light things, and that I just do that every week, and I don't fuck with it.
Yeah. No, I know.
There's no changing it up. There's no worrying about the fucking angles or any of this shit. Like my buddy Swede, like I have a good friend of mine. He's like a 500-pound bench presser, and his bench workout is bench pressing, and he's good at bench press. He's like he bench presses. Then he does like some fucking dumbbell chest presses. Then he does some tricep extensions. That's about it.
That's it.
And he just keeps doing that for 10 years, and you get stronger. Like.
Yeah, dude, it doesn't have to be rocket science. I mean, I know that
it's not the science of rockets at all. It's not.
Yeah, I'm losing my voice over here. But anyway, no, I think it's gonna be met with a lot of happy people who say, oh, okay, well, for once I now have something that doesn't require me to, piece together 3 different things to just kind of get understanding. It's just go in, do the work, stay consistent with the program and follow the guidelines, and you're going to see
Absolutely.
I say rapid, but you will see if you've never focused on muscle building before.
You'll see consistency.
You'll see consistency. Yeah, 100%. Dude, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah, for sure, brother.
It's been awesome, bro. Yeah. I know it's funny because I always joke around about like, Twitter. Oh God, who knows who's real, who's not. But it's always good to meet someone who's the same as
Likewise.
they are online, bro. It's awesome, man. It's a pleasure. So appreciate you.
Yeah, dude,
breaking
it's super
some
great
bread with
being
me and
here.
everything, man. Yeah, it's been awesome, dude. So good shit. Make sure where can people connect with you? Because they're probably like, well, I got to follow them on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, so I mean, so the guys, so AJA_Cortes, I'm on Twitter. The best place is to like follow me if you want like actual useful information. Obviously, Twitter feed, the newsletter that I write like 3 times a week. That's where like all the good stuff is with training, with lifestyle, but just like this anything I'm into at the time. Like read the newsletter. Cortes.site you can find there, and then Instagram. I post a lot on Instagram. I do AMAs on Instagram every week.
Sweet.
Like you get questions answered in video format, whatever. But yeah, same thing. AJA Cortes on Instagram. But yeah, those are the 3 places. So.
We'll put all those links in the show notes and everything. But I can vouch for your newsletter. I don't know how long I've been on your newsletter, but I always preach to other fitness professionals too. Like you can learn so much from people who know what they're doing. And your newsletter is, I mean, you should probably charge for it.
Yeah, honestly.
It's that good. It's really, really rock solid. So if you're somebody out there who's just interested in any part of life improvement, fitness, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, keep it pretty broad.
You keep a lot of value there, man. So appreciate that. It's awesome.
I appreciate it.
All right, cool, man.